What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Welcome back, and as always, thank you for joining me. My name is Paul Brettel. Today, we are here to go behind the numbers with the key stats and figures from the Green Bay Packers' performance against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. But first, hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I do greatly appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel, and you can find all my work over at Packers Wire. So, as I said, this is a series that I have over at Packers Wire. Each week comes out Monday mornings, diving into the key stats, key figures, key numbers that we need to know from the Packers' performance that really helped define the game, define the outcome, and what we saw take place on the football field. So let's dive in with the big one. 124 rushing yards for Falcons running back Bijan Robinson. He averaged an impressive 6.5 yards per carry. I mean, any time that the Falcons didn't hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson really felt like a gift. Unfortunately, that was a rarity in the second half. We saw Robinson, as Matt LaFleur noted earlier in the week, he's very, very difficult to bring down. There were times, several times, where the Packers defenders were positioned pretty well to make a play on him, but they just weren't able to. I mean, his ability to make guys miss is incredibly impressive. And also, the Atlanta Falcons offensive line did a really good job creating running lanes for him. And the Falcons' ability to move the ball on the ground, they dominated from a play perspective, from time of possession. They ran 31 more plays than what the Green Bay Packers did. They held the ball for almost 13 minutes longer than what the Packers did, even with a lead like the Packers had in that second half or in that fourth quarter. It's going to be tough to win games when the discrepancy in, again, time of possession, total plays ran is as massive as it was. So that was a trickle-down effect of the Packers' inability to stop the Falcons' run game. And I'm going to touch on this more here in a second, but the Falcons' game plan that they had, coupled with having a running back like Bijan Robinson, did a really, really good job of keeping this Green Bay Packers defense off balance and guessing. And again, I'm going to touch on that here more in a second. Second number to know, 10. It's the number of plays the Green Bay Packers ran in the fourth quarter on offense. So contributing to that lopsided play numbers, lopsided time of possession numbers, the Packers' inability to pick up a first down in the fourth quarter was a massive contributor to that. On their three possessions, again, they had just 10 offensive plays, going 3 and out on the first two, and then, of course, Jordan Love and the Packers' offense went 4 and out on that final drive. In total, the Packers held the ball for only 3 minutes, 3 minutes of the 15 in the fourth quarter. Now, that's not an excuse for the defensive performance against the run, but the defense's job becomes a lot more difficult when they have little time to rest, especially when they're going up against such a run-heavy team like the Atlanta Falcons. Throughout the game, it was really feast or famine for this Packers offense. I mean, the fact that they put up 24 points while only running 48 offensive plays is really, really efficient football. When they had the ball, they oftentimes took advantage of it and were able to put points on the board. On the flip side, when they didn't score, they were going 3 and out, or they were giving the ball back to the Atlanta Falcons pretty quickly. And that style of play, we saw that quite a bit throughout the summer. Like thinking back as I was watching this game to the Packers training camp practices that we took in, that's a lot of what it looked like. Like when things were clicking for this offense, they were moving the ball pretty easily. However, on the flip side, when things were not going well, it was a struggle to move the ball at all. There just felt like there was very little in between. During practice, there wasn't those, string together a few first downs, but ultimately have to punt. It was either they go the length of the field and score or get close to it, or it was a turnover on downs or they were punting pretty quickly. So what we saw against the Falcons, again, seemed very familiar to what took place in training camp. And I think that's a big part of what you're going to expect from a young team, especially one that has the speed, the explosiveness that the Packers have. There's that big playability. There's just the potentials there. But again, there's going to be inconsistency as well. And we saw that with the Falcons team. First downs in particular were an issue for the Packers. And I'll get to more of that in a second here. But their inability to find success on first down, especially in the fourth quarter, but throughout the game, put the offense in some difficult situations in second, third, and longs. Next number to know, I should say, 3.1. That's the yards per carry for the Green Bay Packers running backs. Coming out of their week 1 performance against Chicago, the Green Bay run game was the biggest concern in what was overall a very good performance from the Packers team, the Packers offense that week. Unfortunately, things did not improve in week 2. Obviously, not having Aaron Jones does not help that situation. A.J. Dillon took on the lead running back role. He had 15 carries, but averaged just 3.7 yards per rush. Emmanuel Wilson, Patrick Taylor, meanwhile, they totaled just 6 yards on 4 rushes. Running lanes just have not been there. A.J. Dillon has to improve as a ball carrier. Matt LaFleur said on Monday when speaking with us that he has to run with more balance, has to do a better job of seeing those running lanes when they are available to him. However, it's not as if there's been a ton of running lanes for him that have been created by the offensive line. And also, when the Packers try to do toss plays or try to stretch the field horizontally on the run game, it has just not ended well. That's one of those instances where, as we're seeing those plays unfold, where I think back to what Matt LaFleur said last week, where it takes all 11 players on offense to be effective in the run game. It's not just the offensive line, the running back, it's the tight ends, it's the receivers. And you see that specifically on those toss plays or on those horizontal running plays where defenders are just flying into the backfield to make plays on the ball carrier. Those type of plays have not gone well whatsoever. And what I just touched on a second ago with the Packers' struggles on first downs, there were some missed throws from Jordan Love, but their inability to move the ball on the ground on first down, it's put the offense again in some difficult situations. When you're consistently in second and long, third and longs, predictable passing situations, it becomes a lot more difficult to move the ball. The defense has the control. They have the power in those situations. They're the ones, as Jordan Love said, are able to get into favorable matchups. They're able to get into the type of plays that they want to run. And as I just mentioned, they're the ones able to do the dictating. And the Packers ended up finishing the day just 3 for 9 on third downs, a far cry from the 9 for 16 that they went last week in Chicago. So if this offense is going to find consistent success this season, I've talked about this before, probably a bit of a broken record at this point, but they're going to have to get better on the ground. Matt LaFleur also said they are taking a microscope to this run game in terms of examining what they got to do to, who's the best offensive line unit right now, considering that Elton Jenkins is going to be out for the time being with a sprained MCL. We also don't know what the Bakhtiari's status is going to be moving forward either. So that offensive line coming into the season was absolutely the strength of this offense. But now there's some definite question marks around it. And even when fully healthy last week in Chicago, again, they did not perform that well in the run game. So an area that absolutely has to improve for this offensive line unit and for this Packers offense in general. Next number to know, 7.1. That was the yards per pass for Falcons quarterback Desmond Ridder. So as I mentioned earlier, I thought that the Falcons had a really good game plan against this Packers team. So in addition to the play of Bijan Robinson, the Atlanta offense, they just did a really good job of keeping the Packers off balance. Week 1 against Carolina, they did not pass the ball a ton. Desmond Ridder's 18 pass attempts were the fewest in the NFL. Of those 18, and these numbers are from Pro Football Focus, 8 of them did not even cross the line of scrimmage. Only 4 of them actually traveled more than 10 air yards. However, if the Packers were expecting the Falcons to zig early on in week 2, they zagged. They came out throwing the ball. By halftime, Ridder had at least 18 pass attempts, if not more, the same amount he had during the entire game against Carolina. These also weren't all, dump off screen plays, shallow crossers. He was pushing the ball to those intermediate levels and also took some shot plays downfield here and there. So the Falcons came out and did something completely different to a degree than what they had put on tape the week prior. From a run game perspective, of course, you got Bijan Robinson, but the type of plays that they were running inside, they were running outside. They used a ton of pre-snap motion. They used a ton of shifts. And when you couple all that together, it really felt like, especially as the second half got going and they really started to find some effectiveness on the ground game, that the Packers were off balance. There was some guessing taking place, maybe not necessarily knowing what the Falcons were going to do. Were they going to run the ball? Probably. But were they going to run inside? Were they going to run outside? What were the motions? How was that impacting the Packers pre-snap? The Falcons just did a really good job. Sometimes, the Packers have to be better. They have to tackle better. They have to make plays. Joe Barry absolutely could have been more aggressive in certain situations, but sometimes you got to remember that the opponent, they're getting paid to play football too. Sometimes you got to tip their cap. I thought the Falcons' game plan and their ability to execute did a really, really good job on Sunday. And with all that said, that keeping the Packers off balance, that success on the ground game opened up opportunities in the passing game for Desmond Ridder to average 7.1 yards per pass attempt. And for some context, that would rank 13th in the NFL this season, in the top half of the league in that statistical category. So he was able to find Drake London for 6 receptions, 67 yards. And again, he came up with some big time throws. Again, pushing the ball downfield to those intermediate routes, which is more than what we saw the week prior. So again, it all worked together. It was all part of the game plan. And again, credit to the Falcons Ridder, to the Falcons offense, their pass catchers. They were able to take advantage of those opportunities that came open for them in the passing game because of the game plan, because of their ability to move the ball on the ground. Last note on this, the Packers, according to Pro Football Focus, finished the game with 24 pressures, which not bad by any means, but a lot of those came in the first half. In that second half, when the Falcons were passing the ball, and again, I think it had to do with, or I know it had to do with their ability to move the ball on the ground, but they just didn't get after Ridder much in that second half, or at least not enough to consistently pressure him. For the most part, on those longer developing routes that he was waiting for, he had the time that he needed in the pocket. Next number to know, 2. That's the number of missed turnover opportunities the Packers had. Matt LaFleur says every week the goal is to go 2-0 in the turnover battle. The Packers won it. They went 1-0, but it very well should have been, could have been 3-0 against this Falcons team. On 4th and 3, 4th and 4, Desmond Ridder threw the ball right to Jair Alexander. He just sat down in zone coverage right next to Drake London. Ball hit him right in the hands, and if he catches it, very well could have been a pick 6, or at least very, very good starting field position for the Packers offense. Later on in the game, Quay Walker over the middle of the field had one hit him in the chest, hit him in the hands that he dropped as well. Probably wouldn't have been another pick 6 for him, but the Packers would have been in their side of the field for sure, and probably close to the red zone. They probably would have started, the offense would have started their drive within field goal range. And in the moment, those interceptions, because it led to punts or a turnover on downs, obviously 4th down, the Packers got the ball back right away. And then on Walker's drop, that was 3rd down. So the Falcons came out and punted. Like in the moment, Packers get the ball back right away. They're winning in those instances. Feels like they're controlling the game. Those interceptions those dropped interceptions didn't feel as costly as they actually ended up being in a 1-point loss. Even on the takeaway that they did come away with, Rasul Douglas's interception on the Falcons' first drive at the game. Packers started at their own 40. They were in very good field position, but they went 3-and-out. They were unable to capitalize on those opportunities that Desmond Ridder gave them. And again, in a 1-score game, that ended up being a massive difference in the outcome. The outcome very well, we can play the what-if game all day here. Do the Packers take advantage of those interceptions on offense if they happen? Even if they do take advantage, is Atlanta still able to overcome the additional deficit? But we obviously don't have those answers, but we do know the Packers' odds of winning would have very much increased had those plays been made. So missed opportunities there. Earlier this offseason, I wrote about just the importance for this defense of taking advantage of the turnover opportunities that come their way. Obviously, we know you win the turnover battle, your odds of winning the game greatly increase. But for a young offense, giving them an extra possession or two to go to try to score, giving them better starting field position, again, for a young offense is going to be so crucial for the Green Bay Packers this season in regards to putting points on the board. So missed opportunities by this defense as well in that regard. Next number to know, the number 5, and this is our last number here. That was the delay of game penalty on the opening possession. As you recall, Packers field goal unit was out on the field. Anders Carlson was going to attempt a 51-yarder, but there was a delay of game. Matt LaFleur said on Monday that with a rookie holder, a rookie kicker, the operation was just a little bit slow. Those guys need more urgency. He said that this This isn't practice on Wednesdays where they're going through their field goal attempts in those practices. It's a game. There's a play clock. Has to be a sense of urgency to get on the field, get set, get everything ready. And then to have the time that you need to go through, for Carlson to go through what he needs to do pre-snap to get ready to kick, all while the play clock's running. So LaFleur said it's a good learning experience for them. He also said that, that's on him for not knowing where the play clock was at so he could call timeout. And so that 5-yard penalty backed the Packers up. It was a 56-yarder. And at the time, it seemed head-scratching that they didn't kick the field goal. I mean, Anders Carlson absolutely has the leg to kick it 56 yards indoors. We saw him at Lambeau Field over the summer in a preseason game make, I think, a 56-yarder. So he has the power to get there. But Matt LaFleur said that, early on in the game, again, this was the first possession, that they wanted to play the field position battle and make Atlanta early on go the length of the field. However, Daniel Whelan ended up kicking the ball into the end zone, so the Falcons started at the 20. The Packers were at the 39, so the net distance given up, or that they gained, I guess, so to speak, for lack of a better term, was 19 yards. That was it. Had Carlson missed the field goal, the Falcons would have started at the 39. Instead, they punted it, went to the end zone, they get touchback. Atlanta starts at the 20. Didn't even end up being that big of a difference. And of course, Matt LaFleur said, hindsight being 2020, if he knew it was going to be a one-point game at the end, he obviously would have went for the field goal in that time. But again, it's the first possession of the game. We don't know how things are going to play out. But I did in the moment find that a bit head-scratching because, again, whether Carlson was going to make it or not, that's to be seen. But he absolutely had the leg to make a 53-yarder. And again, Packers lost by a point. So a big, big moment early on in this game that very well may have ended up defining it too. So there you have it, my friends. Those are my key stats, key figures to know from the Green Bay Packers performance. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I do greatly appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel, and you can find all my work over at Packers Wire. So until next time, friends, take care, stay safe, and as always, go Pack Go.